Today we have Dr. Sandeep Shastri, writer, author, and political analyst. Sir, my first question to you is, this election is going to happen at the time when India Bloc or an All India Alliance has been formed. How important are these polls for both BJP and Congress?
Now, with the ruling alliance and the opposition alliance taking shape for next year's Lok Sabha elections, I think the electoral battle lines are getting clearly drawn, both in terms of the alternative agendas that the two alliances are projecting, the alternative narratives that they want to present to the people of India. So I think in that sense, in the run-up to the next year's Lok Sabha election, this is a very, very significant and expected development. What are its implications for the elections that are to happen soon towards the end of this year? If I could use a cricketing parlance with World Cup being around, we have found in cricket that no semi-final is a predictor of the final. The semi-final could go one way and the final could go in a totally different way. So I would use the same analogy to describe the state assembly elections coming up at the end of this year and the Lok Sabha election next year, because there is enough data to prove that in India today, state elections and national elections run on very, very different trajectories. So just because X party may win 2 months from now, that does not guarantee it a victory next year. Though, of course, it helps parties position themselves, enthuse their cadres, reflect on strategies. But then I would say they are two very, very different electoral ball games.
Sir, BJP used to take pride in the leadership of Vasundhara Raje, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and Dr. Raman Singh. But this time, they are not the chief ministerial face. How do you look at the strategy of the BJP?
Now, both the BJP and also the Congress, which is the main contender in all the three states, have decided to adopt strategies which are very different from state to state. This time around, the BJP, as you know, has decided not to project a chief minister face. Now, there could be multiple reasons for this and multiple contexts for this. In Madhya Pradesh, the fact that, say, for a brief period of Kamal Nath's chief ministership, they have been in power for 2 decades. And some would argue that there is an element of anti-incumbency that is creeping in. And you have had a chief minister who has had a very, very long tenure. Now, maybe the BJP strategy is that we deflect attention away from the existing government and leadership to broader issues, and therefore they use the euphemism of collective leadership in the state. But clearly the entry into the electoral fray in Madhya Pradesh is with the Prime Minister as the leader of the BJP campaign. And something similar is happening in Rajasthan, partly because of the I wouldn't say infighting, but the apparent lack of unity within the party and the challenges which the party would face if one name were to be projected and the other factions getting disappointed with that. And in Chhattisgarh, though Mr. Raman Singh was chief minister for many years, once they lost the election last time around, I think very little groundwork was done by the BJP, and Mr. Dr. Raman Singh was largely in the background, and suddenly to project him now would be difficult. So I think they have gone with a national leadership focus, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Madhya Pradesh and in Rajasthan, the sitting chief ministers are not the chief ministerial face of their party. In one case, the BJP, in the one case, the Congress. And this reflects the internal contradictions that all the parties in the fray are facing in the three states. Added to that, the contest of the members of parliament in the assembly election is only queering the pitch and making it unclear as to what is the strategy the parties are taking forward as they go into the election.
So the upcoming elections are a direct contest between BJP and Congress in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan. Now, my question to you is the Congress ready to take on the election management skills of the BJP?
Buoyed from its recent victory in Karnataka, I'm sure they see the opportunity. And let's remember, 5 years back, they won all the three states, though, of course, they lost one of them a year later. But these were three states where all of them had electoral victories. And subsequent to that, the Karnataka victory, just before that, the Himachal victory. So I think the opposition in Madhya Pradesh and the ruling party in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh are clearly geared up for the election, as is their principal opponent, the BJP. I think both of them are election ready, clear strategy focused, and leaving no stone unturned to be able to win this election.
So the BJP has fielded several parliamentarians and union ministers this time. So how do you look at this strategy?
3 points on that. First, I think it's been now the practice of the BJP, especially after 2014, to always have a surprise element in every decision that they take. It may be in presidential and vice presidential nominees, it may be in chief minister choice, or now it may be in choice of candidates for elections. So that surprise element, which the BJP believes is one of its strong points, is reflected in this decision to field 7 members of parliament in Madhya Pradesh and a more or less similar number in Rajasthan. Now, so one surprise element. 2, I think to keep the question guessing as to who will be the chief ministerial candidate in the event of their winning the election. Now, the BJP could argue that we have an array of faces who can lead the party. Thirdly, I would say it is also to deal with factionalism within the party. You make sure that leaders of all factions are taken care of and are accommodated in your list. I think the only flip side of this decision would be, in the event of all of them winning, would you then want a by-election to the Lok Sabha? Because they will have to then vacate their seats and get into the assembly. So are you ready for a by-election? Would you want to reduce the bench strength of your council of ministers at such a crucial stage as you are in a run-up to a Lok Sabha election? If any of them were to lose their seat, what would the implication be at the national level of a member of parliament, or more damaging would be if a minister were to lose an assembly seat? What would be the ramifications of that for the image of the central government? I think this is the only flip side of this decision of fielding 7 members of parliament for an assembly election, because what happens if they win? Are you ready for a by-election? If they lose, what happens to the image of the central government and the party at the national level?
So, the Congress has promised in several states that they will conduct caste-based surveys if they come to power. Can it be the game changer for Congress?
Now, I think no election has a game changer. Every election has a combination of game changers which ultimately get it public support. Now, it's important to understand as to the context in which the Congress is talking about a caste-based census. 2 factors. One, the BJP has been consistently arguing that we as a party are a rainbow coalition. We have got the support of different caste groups, and this point is consistently being made by the BJP. The critics would argue that yes, the BJP does have a broad coalition, but this coalition comes under the umbrella of the Hindutva factor, which is the overarching point which brings these castes together. Members of different caste groups are part of that alliance for the BJP, largely under the banner of Hindutva, would be the argument. Now, to counter that, the opposition is saying, should we not focus on the socially marginalized who have not been given their status, and the fact that we don't know in terms of real numbers as to what are the numbers for these groups. So should we not have a caste census, which has not been done for long? Should we not have such a census to know how much are each group and what is the socioeconomic status of each of these groups? So in a sense, you are challenging the slogan of Sanatana Dharma with Jati Dharma or social justice. So I think that's what I started off by saying. There is an alternative narrative that is coming up to challenge the dominant narrative which the ruling party is seeking to promote. So yes, it would be interesting to see how this narrative plays out. In recent elections, one has seen that the support base of the Congress has been much wider among the poorer sections of society. In Himachal, though the gap between the BJP and Congress was just 1% of votes, among the poor it was 9%. And similarly, in Karnataka, the Congress did extremely well among the economically not so well off sections. So I think this factor also needs to be budgeted in any of these analysis that we do.
So my last question to you is, BJP is contesting this election under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. However, it is up against very strong state leaders like Mr. Ashok Gehlot, Bhupesh Baghel and Mr. KCR. How do you look at this contest between the national leadership versus the state leaders?
You see, for quite some time now, the BJP has very, very openly declared that we contest all elections under the leadership of the Prime Minister, who is our chief spokesperson in that sense. In Karnataka also, people used to say that wait for the Prime Minister to start his rallies and then you see the change that happens. So there is no shadow of doubt that the BJP increasingly relies on the persona of the Prime Minister and his capacity to campaign. And it has seen a reasonable degree of success. Now, I would argue that the success has been more prominent when you come to a Lok Sabha election, as was in the case of 2014 and 19. Our Lokniti study found that in 2014, 1/4 of the BJP voters said we would have changed the party we voted for if not for the leadership. And in 2019, that number went up to 1/3. So yes, Prime Minister in Lok Sabha polls plays a crucial role. But is that role as crucial in state assembly elections is the question. Now, my own sense, the Prime Minister's vote-catching capacity in assembly elections is more the cherry on the cake and is not the building up of the cake itself. The creation of the cake is done by essentially local factors and local leadership, and the Prime Minister only adds on to that. And therefore, in states where we have seen that the state assembly election has had no visible face of the BJP at the state level, and if the opposition has visible faces with mass base at the state level, they have often been able to challenge the leadership of the BJP and won the elections. Karnataka may be a case in point. West Bengal may be another case in point. Himachal could be a case in point. So there are examples of where in spite of the Prime Minister's face, when the BJP does not have a local face and the opposition does, it is often advantage to the opposition.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Dr. Shastri. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.